look at the Earth and fast forward, and sometimes slow motion, and sometimes rewind. And that's kind of the way I think, back and forth, a lot of back, a little forth, way forth, a little back. 2014, if I'm looking at it over my past, God, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, it's got to be one of the worst. I mean, injury has had me down. The VA has been a massive failure this year. I was just reading the American Legion today. It, Even more details about the failures in the VA. Yeah, Phoenix is the spotlight, but it is systemic. It's all over the country. It's all over the world. The VA sucks a camel's schlong. It really does. I mean, think about this. Someone can come in off of the street now who has no clothes on and who believes that Nixon is still the president of the United States and get better health care than a disabled veteran can get. That's a problem. That's a problem. But we don't really care, do we? We care for a few weeks when it's in the news. You probably care about airliners right now. Anybody who is friends with me on Facebook has seen that I have shared with you how unimportant overall an airline crash really is. I'm not going over this again because we went over it last show or 2 shows ago. I'm not going to drive that one down into the dirt, but and no pun intended there either. I mean, these people that it happened to, of course it means everything to them. But I'm talking about on a global scale. I'm talking about billions and billions of people. Think of a camera that's just circling the Earth. All right, it's on a satellite. And yes, this is off the top of my head, just like every goddamn thing else. That's also a failure. I don't prepare. So you got this camera, and the camera has to find where, say, 300 people died in a plane crash. All right, how many days is it going to circle? People are dying all under it, all kinds of causes. The camera says, I'm not going to go, just east and west now. I'm going to go north and south, and there's not really any people at the poles, so I'll go back to a semi-southwest northeast route, and look at all the deaths. Look at how the causes. I still don't see a plane crash. Okay, I'll just keep circling. Okay, now I just passed by 2 million deaths today, this particular random day, and I happened upon a plane crash where 300 people died. How unfortunate. Now I've got to get moving because I've got another 25,000 today that are going to die of hunger or hunger-related illness. I got another 5-6 million. I don't know. They're going to die from heart disease. Another 3-4 million that are going to die from stroke. These are people that are not necessarily just at their old age limit. Okay. And let's see. What else do I have here? I got, I don't know, a couple of million going to die from suicide. Maybe 1 million going to die from gun violence, 500,000 from wars. Maybe I have 300,000 that are going to die in automobile accidents. This is what the camera's thinking. It's got work to do. It has already forgotten about the motherfucking plane. But we're focused on it because it's drama. Drama sells. And as long as we let it sell, they're going to keep pushing it. So what should you do when you come across the plane story? Does it really fascinate you that much? How is it that CNN is running this 24/7? Why? In the time that they have run this story about one downed aircraft, and I'm not trying to sound insensitive, but compared to the rest of the deaths in the world that were unexpected, it's shit. It is a piece of lint on a giant bull's balls. That's all it is. And we're going to eat the bull. Some people will even eat the balls. Well, if you're hungry, a little Tabasco sauce can do wonders. I've never had bull balls. I'm not trying to put myself into a position of being someone I'm not. I've never had mountain oysters. I've never had goat balls. I've never had camel balls. I'm pretty sure camels do have balls, males, but I haven't seen pictures of them, so I couldn't prove that. Then again, some might say, well, how do you know we landed on the moon? You can look through a telescope and see the fucking footprints, right? I'm just saying, when you have the evidence available, maybe you should not buy into the conspiracy theory that was all a hoax done in fucking Oakland. I'm just saying. And I hate to just say, because somehow what does that do? Relieve you of all responsibility of what you just said? Oh, I'm just saying. Oh, well, shit, if you were just saying, fuck. You say whatever you want. Because I thought you were doing something else besides saying. Let me tell you something. The next time somebody says, I'm just saying, ask them, why would you clarify that? I knew you were just saying. You were using words. They were coming out of your mouth. I heard them. Of course you were just saying. I mean, what's the alternative? Can you do what you just said? I didn't expect you were doing what you just said. Were you thinking it and it accidentally slipped out? Because if you were just saying, you could claim you weren't thinking it. Is that where you're going with this? Are you trying to create some sort of separate path of responsibility here by saying, I'm just saying? This is an example of how anything that's popular can fuck your head up. And it has fucked mine up. I'm backing out of it now. I'm walking away from I'm just saying because I think it's retarded. It's just as retarded as saying it is what it is. Can you see any sense in that statement at all? Another failure in 2014. It is what it is. No, because I thought it was what it wasn't. Fucking retards. And I know some of you guys are going, Kevin, chill. I use that one. Well, stop fucking using it if it's retarded. Unless you want to sound retarded. It is what it is. Next time next time you feel tempted to say that, say it is what it wasn't. But it might be what it could have been. But it is not what it is. And see what they say. They'll probably have a stunned reaction. May take a couple of steps back from you. Overall, though, you're going to drive a point home, and that is, have you thought about it is what it is? Think about that for a minute. It's like saying, I looked at the sun and it was very bright. That's another failure for 2014. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it was the commercials. I blame Captain Obvious. The Captain Obvious commercials have me thinking, my friends. And that is to say that if you say anything that is painfully obvious, I'm not going to like you. I'm not going to dislike you as a person. I'm just going to dislike what you just said. It's one thing if you're gathering with friends and somebody says, I don't know, did you hear about the Giants? I'm not even following the NFL, so I don't know how they're doing. Did you hear about the Giants? And you know all your friends watched the Giants game. Did you hear about the Giants? They won 21-0 yesterday. Well, you know what? Stop for a second. Okay, you're friends. You've been friends for 30 years. You know this guy that just said this absolutely knows you watched the Giants game. You know he knows it. So what you should do when someone does something painfully obvious is point it out using contrast. Say, Giants, who are they? And be dead serious. What are you talking? There's no team in the NFL named Giants. Are you thinking of, I don't know who you're thinking of. Seriously, fuck with them. Because someone needs to draw attention to those that are pointing out the painfully obvious as if it were not obvious. That is annoying. It is so annoying. I hear it on news all the time. Here's another thing. Here's another failure of 2014. And this goes back even further, but it was amplified in 2014 because a couple of things with news anchors. I got a couple of things with them. First, they become superior gods when there's a weather event or a fire. Don't drive during this. Hey, news anchor, fuck you. Don't tell me when to drive. Who the fuck are you? You're a news anchor, and now all of a sudden you're like the NTSB chairperson? What is that? Whatever you do, don't get on the road during this. You know, I just want to throw something at him. Guy took the idea, and I wouldn't have thought of it anyway, but Guy Shea took the idea of the shut the fuck up. He was giving free shut the fuck ups yesterday on his show, which was you get to tell anybody to shut the fuck up, and you can tell several people, including him, to shut the fuck up. I don't mind if you tell me to shut the fuck up. It wouldn't faze me. It would just kind of bounce off me. You know, I don't know. I don't think I've ever had anybody say that to me, unless it was like on a comment on a YouTube video. I've seen it a lot in places like that. But you can come tell me on the show, comment on the show, shut the fuck up, and I'll just ignore it there. Wherever you want me to ignore it, I'll do it there. Yeah, so news anchors. Second thing. Oh, you thought I forgot. Now, my short-term memory is failing. It is part of the 2014 failure. It is getting drastically worse. It has taken a sharp decline this past year, short-term memory, but sometimes I can handle things that are 2 minutes apart. Just don't try to get me, what'd you say an hour ago? I don't fucking know what I said an hour ago. You know? I mean, that's like asking somebody what they had for lunch 6 years ago on Wednesday. What? What Wednesday? I don't even know. I don't know any of the lunches I had on any Wednesday 6 years ago. None of them. Not one. That's what it's like to ask me what happened an hour ago. I don't know. And I got to tell you something. We're going to get to that in a minute. That's a psychological trick that some people are using. I'm afraid that I also have slipped into that category. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, the news anchors, all right? So all of a sudden, they become the god during a weather event or a major disaster. Whatever you do, don't do this during this. Fuck off, news anchors. The other thing is that when they talk to a field reporter, and this is something that has driven me crazy for 20 years, and I wish I could do something about it. What started, it must have started like in the 50s when I wasn't really around to notice, and it just kind of stuck. You got a news anchor talking to a field reporter. This field reporter may be on, these days, might be on Skype, might be on a remote camera, maybe even on the telephone. And that news reporter gives you a story from right in front of his or her face. And after they give you the story, and it's time to stop talking to them, you, the news anchor, have to put your cap on it. Let me give you an example. So this is what it typically sounds like. Yes, we're out here, and the people that have lost family or friends in this particular accident are definitely feeling pain and sorrow, and it's obvious. And then you say something like, I don't know, something like, I hope those people find comfort and solace. Okay, thanks for calling in, John Doe. You know, like you have to put this finishing point on it, or usually it goes back to the bossy anchor. You know, like you've got some sort of special advice that you have to say. How come the anchor in any conversation between a field reporter and the anchor always has to have the last word? You know what you should say? Here's what you should be thinking. Hey, field reporter, you're there. You're actually there on the ground. You're an expert compared to me on that situation on the ground. So when you're done with your report and you say the final sentence, I'm going to say thank you, John Doe, and I'm going to move on to the next story. What is that? What the fuck is that? I would die. I would just, there's something there. There's some psychological thing there that I have not yet identified, and it's under my skin. I got to know what it is. Is it just habit? Is it just media habit? Is it something that evolved through journalism over the past half a century, or is it something uglier? Is there some part of the human psyche that says, I need to establish my dominance since I'm the anchor? So every time a field reporter says something, I'll finish it off. I'll put the lid on that story because it's all about me. I'm the anchor. Throw a boomerang at the next news anchor you see. Trust me, they deserve it. I don't know exactly what for, but I can guarantee you they deserve it for something. So just throw the boomerang. Watch out, because the fuckers will come back and get you. This is where you got to be careful with boomerangs, but the idea is you don't want to lose your weapon. So throw the boomerang. Just take off an ear. I mean, you know, who was it? Van Gogh did that? You know, he was all right. He survived. Hi, Andrew. Happy New Year, man. And Australia. Is it already New Year's there? I'm trying to figure out how the clock works and the GMT, so I think it's already New Year's in Australia. Yes, it is. I'll be damned. Happy New Year's, man. Happy 2015. I'm just reviewing, Andrew, the failure that 2014 was for so many people, myself included. I don't know about you. Did you, Andrew, compared to 2013, 2012, 2011, did you improve in 2014? Did you stay the same, or did you slip? I slipped down a bunch of rungs. I can blame a lot of it on my health, but some of it was just will. Maybe my health is affecting my will. Thailand still, that's right, I'm sorry.